Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan from Sports Card Radio. That's right. We're back. Another episode of the R-Rated podcast. And before we dive into the various sports card topics of the day, which I'll go over, be remiss not to talk a little bit about Southern Texas and the Houston area, who's gotten pummeled by the hurricane and the rain and the wind and the flooding, which looks like an absolute nightmare. Texas and specifically Texas and even the southern Texas area, great sports card area. Lots of companies related to the hobby are in Texas, and every year there's some good sports card shows in the Houston area. So before I start to ramble on about myself, might as well give a shout to these guys at the Humble Civic Center. There was a show earlier this year in May, so hopefully they'll hold some more. That's there in Houston. Every year the TriStar Houston show pops off at Energy Arena over there in Houston. This year's show was June 16th through the 18th. That's put on by TriStar. Go to the San Francisco show. So pretty good, probably mid-size show out there. So one to check out. GTSM, they do kind of a show out there too. That's probably similar to the TriStar show. That's coming up in actually a couple weeks, September 15th through the 17th. So hopefully things get high and dry for this, because the autographs guests include Drew Brees, George Springer, Vince Young, Ricky Williams, Major Applewhite, and more. So pretty cool thing to check out if you're in that area once things get a little better. And another show that happens quite often, they call it the I-10 Houston Sports Card Show. This is at the Sheraton Houston West on Clay Road. And free admission, 11 to 4. Next show coming up October 21st. And to check that out, you can go to sportscardsofhouston.com. Sportscards with an S of Houston.com. Anyone looking to reach out to Sports Card Radio can do that at sportscardradio.com. Reach out to my brother, the host of the Sports Card Show. He's Sports Card Radio on Twitter. Myself, Sports Card News on Twitter. You can mail us 4545 Georgetown Place, Suite C34, Stockton, California, 95207. Facebook, Sports Card Radio, and then YouTube, Sports Card Radio or Sports Card Show or something like that. But you should be able to find that fairly easily, hopefully. Topics that we'll discuss, or main topics that we'll discuss, and maybe at the end I'll throw in some BS. Panini first off the line. When I first heard about this, I thought it was single cards, but then I got a phone call and I was talking to somebody about it, and it was they were going to sell boxes, first off the line boxes. I was like, oh, I got to look into this a little bit more. So we'll talk about that. That's an interesting thing there. Give you my take and some of the reaction online from dealers. The sports card hobby had some major mainstream coverage this week on American Greed. They covered the Mastro Auctions shill bidding and card trimming and all kind of fraud that was going on over at Mastro's Auctions in Illinois. Very interesting. I encourage you to check it out. I won't spoil it too much, but I'll give a couple things that kind of stuck out for me. I knew the story, so nothing really surprised me because I had known the backstory. And if you don't, it'd be great to watch it because I think it covers it fairly well. But I'll discuss that on today's show. Briefly, I'll discuss it appears to be a settlement coming in the Upper Deck tax litigation case they have with the United States Tax court, a couple business ideas, and then maybe some more BS at the end. So Panini, trying something different here, trying another way to get some money directly. First off the line program, basically what it's letting you do is buy boxes early directly from Panini. Certain products, looks like about a dozen, will be released either on their online store or directly through their Panini Direct app. And the first product, 2016-17 Immaculate Basketball, limited quantity available, and inside this first off the line quote product, there'll be some exclusive Emerald Parallels that'll only be in this first off the line product. And they say these things will arrive 24 to 48 hours prior to release. So not that much time. It'd be one thing if this was a week or two before the product come out. It's 24 to 48 hours. So that's oftentimes, if you scrounge around, you might be able to even find product being opened up early anyways. Some of Panini product. But I wrote down some things here. I think we all can get the concept of this. That, Panini's basically just selling boxes through their own website. And you get it 24 to 48 hours beforehand. And inside might be some exclusive parallels or content or something like that. And they say these are the ones that are quote unquote first off the line. Although there probably were just a limited run made with these parallels, and it may, they may not be the first ones right off the line. But anyways, I wrote down some points here. After I briefly thought about this, the idea is not bad, but the execution is going to be key, because what if you don't get it 24 to 48 hours beforehand? That might be part of the allure to you. Especially if you're kind of a social media person or you have some kind of brand. I'll talk about the dealers in a second, but let's just talk about if you're a regular person buying these. You may like the fact that you can brag to your collector friends, haha, I got one of these boxes, and ooh, I got my Emerald Brandon Ingram to 5, what? And if you get a big hit, you can, 24-hour list it on eBay or do something or kind of jump out in front. Because it will take actually a little while, for the cards to show up on eBay when the regular product comes out. A lot of people, go through group breaks and it takes them a second. A lot of times it's not instantaneous, at least for these basketball products. Cards kind of trickle on there. If you get one of these first off the line boxes as a collector, you could open it, you could brag to your friends, you could tweet about it, Instagram about it, Snap about it, and sell a card real quick or get one of these exclusive cards. So I see the allure if you're already buying a box or buying into a case break or going to do something, maybe if the price isn't that bad. And they're obviously going to jack these up to full retail or more. But something that could be a hot ticket anyways. National Treasures football or this year's basketball with all the rookies with Dennis Smith and Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball. You think anybody's going to want his cards? Some of those products, basketball products, are probably going to be selling above retail, full retail even. So it's not a bad, it's really not a bad idea, but execution is going to be the key. And obviously Panini, as we've seen over the years, I'll spare you their litany of mistakes. But not exactly a company known for executing. They throw around some ideas. Execution is going to be key because these people are going to want these boxes 24 to 48 hours beforehand. Secondly, and one thing they did here was piss off their dealer network. Now, apparently Panini is trying to tamp down some of this, saying this is going to be a really limited print run. It's not going to be noticeable. It's not going to hurt, dealer sales, breaker sales. If anything, it might enhance that. That's Panini's spin on it. Dealers see it as another way. And I'm trying to figure out, why don't they just give the opportunity for the dealers to sell these? Sadly, they probably know that their main customer here on these are going to be breakers and dealers. You don't think that some of the top group breakers aren't going to be hitting refresh when these key products come out, so that they could be the ones to break these exclusive first off the line products 24 to 48 hours before it comes out? Even if it's a break even for me as a group breaker, if I can break even doing that, I'm doing that every time, every release. I would lose money on that. I get to break a product 24 to 48 hours before it comes out, have a video of that I could get 10, 20,000 views on probably over the lifetime of the video. I'm going to make 20, 30, 40 bucks on that. They may not think about that in terms of the content. They're just, a lot of these guys just thinking about flipping spots. But I think the long-term value of having this product 24 to 48 hours before the release, you get people in your room, you get people on your site. Even if this is a break even for me or a slight loss, I'm doing this every time as a group breaker. I'm ordering a case. I think they're just selling it by the box. So you're going to have to put 12 of these in your cart and just suck it up and buy it. Dang near every product, unless it's a stinker. Any of these hot ones. 2016 Flawless Basketball. Yes. 2017-18 Prism Basketball. Absolute must. Those boxes might actually be a good deal. 2017-18 Select Basketball. Same idea. 2017-18 National Treasures Basketball. I might be on there trying to buy that. That's going to be worth more than probably what they're selling it for. The football stuff, who knows? Going to be any of these quarterbacks do well. Now, if we reviewed that on the last show. If you ain't a quarterback, your autograph's not worth $100. So these football products are all hit or miss unless one of these quarterback, Trubisky, Watson, one of them, whoever, the Niners third round pick, hopefully. And then litany of their baseball products. With the baseball products, you could shy away from, but I don't know. National Treasures Baseball, breakers do well on that. Got to get that. Flawless Baseball, probably got to get that. Diamond Kings, a little less expensive there. Mid-tier product, but may want that. Immaculate Baseball, same thing. Mid to high-end product. As a breaker, you've got to buy that. So maybe as Panini, when they were sitting around kicking this around, they said, well, we could, sell these to dealers or give them an opportunity to buy it too, or sell it to GTS or whoever. They said, nah, screw it. Just put it on our app and our store and have them buy it from us direct. And the people that print the cards for them, that's over in there in Texas too, I think. Panini doesn't own them, or it's a third-party printer. They print these cards, cut them, put them into packs. They're gonna handle the logistics of this. So as long as they can execute in getting this to people's door who order them 24 to 48 hours before the release, it's not the worst idea they've had, although I worry about their execution. And really, I worry about any dealer who's still left on the Panini bandwagon. I mean, years ago, it was, how great Panini was to the hobby shop and the Father's Day promotion and the Black Friday promotion. All that's out the window, guys. They're selling boxes direct before you can get it and taking all the money for themselves. So you either jump on board or you don't. And as a breaker, I would instantly be buying these products. But I certainly wouldn't be dropping to my knees when Panini gets involved in a Prescott scandal or any other litany of mistakes and or boo-boos that have occurred over the years. I certainly wouldn't be rushing to defend them, as I've seen several dealers and breakers have. They don't care about you. You're replaceable. So I think this is a lesson to dealers out there. Maybe Panini will hire their own group breakers. Maybe Panini will just open their own stores. Maybe they see the advantage of that. Why go into these hobby stores and, the guy's selling tops and he's selling leaf and he's, maybe has his own biases and opinions and can be bought and sold one way or the other. Well, why don't we just open up a breaker that only breaks Panini? Why don't we open some stores in some major markets? Panini America store. And sell our own stuff. Screw you guys. Certainly something that if the money started to roll in, that companies could consider and continue cutting dealers and hobby shops off and kind of out of the mix. There's no moat around your business, especially if you're a group breaker. If you're a shop owner, you can certainly create a moat because you've been in your own area for a while. You're established, you're known. People have heard about you, think about you when they're thinking about cards, thinking about shopping for cards, Christmas gift or something of that nature. They've heard of your store through some way, one way or the other. As a breaker, that's a little less so. Less barrier of entry to become an online group breaker, certainly more of a barrier to open a brick or mortar store. So Panini's not going to care about you. You aren't that important to them. As breakers, you're easily replaceable. As a hobby shop, you're a dying breed anyways. You're not as important. And like I said, Panini, if hobby shops or the market ever dictated it, why don't they just open their own stores, only sell their product? Don't sell anybody else. They have all the licenses, or most of them. Just sell their product. And if their stores were successful, maybe charge Upper Deck for some shelf space to sell hockey. Or charge Tops an arm and a leg to sell a couple of their Tops products. What do you think Target and Walmart do to their shelf space in their store, their valuable space? So as a dealer, you're flying by the seat of your pants, and that's fine. I do the same thing. What do you think I did this whole week selling football tickets? Think there's any moat around my business? Heck no. If I'm not feeling well, I don't make any money. If I'm busy, if the hurricane comes through and I get flooded, I don't make any money. So week to week, I fly by the seat of my pants. So there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But certainly when Panini has problems or things like the press, it's just ironic when Panini goes through something like the Prescott scandal and all the people that are sticking up for him are breakers and dealers. And I'm thinking to myself, why? So no need to keep going down a road that I just don't understand, or I don't get the mindset of that. Next topic. American greed. I don't know if you guys, familiar with that. On my TV land, it shows up on CNBC, maybe in other markets or other networks on different networks. Long-running television series. I've seen many episodes. Maybe you guys have or haven't, but I've seen many episodes over the years. So I thought it was interesting when I saw last week that they were going to do one on the Mastro Auctions show bidding and kind of whole card kind of scam thing. There were lots of different frauds that went down in the Mastro scandal. And I thought they covered it pretty well in 45 minutes. It's a tough thing to digest because they do have to set it up. They can't just dive right into it. A lot of people watching don't have any idea about the sports card world or sports card market. So they kind of had to set it up. Hey, these cards are really valuable. These are just cardboard cards and they're really old. And, you can't really understand why is this Hank Aaron worth 500, but this same one's worth 7,000. Like, wait a sec, they're the same exact card, condition and all this stuff. Kind of have to set that up and explain that a little bit. In the beginning, kind of tried to do that. They might have overstated Mastro's role in the hobby, but I don't know. I was a youngster back a little more of a youngster back when this was going on. But I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is a good story. And show bidding still happens a lot on eBay and stuff. There's, some of those big auction guys, those Probstein guys, they don't do the show bidding themselves, but the people that send the cards in, guarantee they do. And show bidding is essentially one of the big things that Mastro and his cronies got caught up in. Is they ran an online auction house and got people to consign cards, and they would essentially be in the back bidding everything up to whoever the real customer, whatever the high bid they were putting in, these guys would be in the back bidding it up. And a lot of people got caught up in the shill bidding scandal. The FBI even released a list that they didn't even talk about on American Greed. It wasn't just Mastro who was shill bidding. It was a whole bunch of guys who are still involved in the hobby to this day. To this day. Guys who are card graders at PSA and SGC. Shill bidders in the Mastro situation. So a lot of people probably, when this thing aired, their butthole was a little tight. Because they didn't know what it was going to say. And some of the best discussion about this, and including some comments from people who were on the show itself, happened over on the Net 54 forums. There's several threads discussing it, the reaction to it, people who were on the show discussing it, people talking about who got kind of light coverage, who, lots of really good discussion. And instead of me trying to summarize it, I would encourage you, if you're interested, to go over there. Lots of good content over there, people discussing it and what they thought about it and the whole scandal itself. And I would encourage you to check it out. It was definitely a big deal. Two things that stuck out to me quickly about it that just after the fact just stuck in my mind. There were people at the time, similar to how I see other maybe lesser scandals happen in the hobby today, that stuck up for Mastro on quote-unquote message boards. That was, a segment in the show. How one of the main guys who was calling out the shill bidding process, who's bidding on stuff, and then he'd notice like 10 seconds later he'd be outbid on something that had been on the site for weeks and had no bidding activity. So he knew something shady was going on. He starts to call out Mastro on these, I don't know what message board they didn't say, and I don't know personally myself. Might be gone. But that people would stick up for Mastro. Say, oh no, he's a good guy. And it could have been people who were kind of involved in the scheme themselves. They were allowed to shill bid items they submitted. There's also articles on Beckett. I won't mention the guy's name because he's still involved in the hobby. But there were articles on Beckett kind of saying, oh, all this talk about Mastro from these crazy guys is, a bunch of BS. Kind of saying, oh, Mastro's a good guy. Well, the guy ended up in federal prison. You wouldn't end up on American Greed unless you spent at least a few months in some kind of federal penitentiary. So I thought it was interesting that there were people sticking up for this fucking loser. And people still involved in the hobby to this day were some of the ones sticking up for this guy. Another interesting tidbit was just the portrayal, and I never met the guy, so I couldn't confirm this or not. But that Mastro was just this very aggressive, arrogant guy. Just pushy, just, boom, 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 just out to slaughter the rest of the auction competition, and just pushy and aggressive and arrogant. And I couldn't help, be totally honest here, I couldn't help but think about our friend over at Cardboard Connection, Mike Smith, who to me was the exact same way. Super pushy, super arrogant, super aggressive. And it's funny that both him and Mastro ended up with some felony charges. And, Mastro had spent some time in jail. Smith got off a little lighter. He didn't have the feds after him, it looks like. Or at least in one instance, he didn't have the Fed. The instance he got busted for, he didn't have the feds on him. Just some local state police. He's got 6 years probation. But overall, I actually thought the hobby came out looking pretty well. I thought, Mastro looks like an idiot for trimming the T206 Wagner, for shill bidding these cards, for being a jerk. But they had some collectors and some of the people who kind of helped call this whole scandal out. Those guys came across, I think, really well. That, hey, this stuff is, I am interested in this stuff. This stuff is cool. This stuff, I like this stuff. This stuff is valuable. And I think that overall, it could have been a lot worse. A 45-minute segment on CNBC's American Greed could have gone really bad for the hobby. But overall, I thought it was like, hey, here's this Mastro guy kind of being a jerk and ripping off all these nice collector guys. At least that was my perception. Encourage you to check it out. Moving on, it does appear, to stay in the legal realm, it does appear a settlement's coming in this UD tax case that I believe I've talked about on the show. I can't reference the episode number. But recently, it does appear they're moving along in a settlement in this tax case that dates back to when Richard McWilliam, the founder of Upper Deck, was alive, and spans over 20 years of the company. Upper Deck has already been found kind of liable for a fraudulent KPMG tax shelter many years ago when they were making a ton of money. And supposedly there could be upwards of $160 million in unpaid taxes. Well, I have it on pretty good authority that, Richard McWilliam's motto was, well, you can only lose what's in the company. So when he would have a really good year, 92 Upper Deck, 93 Upper Deck, he would just cash out, pay a huge dividend to himself and anybody else who owned the company. And for a while, it was like some baseball players, Wally Joyner or Dwayne Boosie or something. They threw a company party when they finally got one of the Angels guys out, so that McWilliam could get more money for himself and his family. I think I've mentioned it on this show. Richard McWilliam's wife and his children will never have to pay for another meal in their life if they're smart and they don't squander the hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars that was siphoned out of Upper Deck when the money was good, when the cards were good, for over a decade. The money was good. Really didn't probably turn down until closer to the end of McWilliam's life, when he was clearly having some alcohol and maybe some prescription drug problems. Family, wife, should never have to pay for another meal in their life. Hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars has been sucked out of Upper Deck. They don't reinvest the money in the company. Jordan gets his cut, LeBron gets his cut, Tiger gets his cut. Why do you think they've stayed? You think Jordan would have stayed? When's the last time Jordan signed an autograph for them? They even said a couple of years ago how they were going to, stop making some Jordan autographs for a couple of years to cool the market down. Jordan still gets paid. Jordan owns some of the company, I can all but assure you of that. Or he owns some shares that he gets paid out first no matter what. So does Tiger, and so does LeBron, and so does Wayne, and so does everybody else who stayed there their entire career when they do or don't have a license. It's a good deal for them. They don't have to do anything and they get paid. You go sign with Panini, you actually have to sign cards. Look at Kobe. He actually has to sign cards. Kobe doesn't own a piece of the company. The majority ownership was Richard McWilliam and his family. Probably a couple athletes and maybe a couple shareholders toward the end. And that was it. And now there's a $160 million tax bill. That started on McWilliam's watch. He tragically passed away. Or he unfortunately passed away. And I can see from the wife and the kids' perspective, they're like, whoa, wait a sec. We weren't involved in this business. Our names aren't on this business. They are now, but they weren't when this happened. Now what do? You have an ongoing business with employees who have jobs and families themselves. Certainly be a little cruel of the government to come out in and wipe out, slap $160 million on this business. Especially after the new owners just lost their father and their husband. So this is stretched on for many years, but it does appear that soon there'll be some sort of deal where I'm sure the payout or the restitution will be much less than $160 million. The government will just have to eat some of this here unless they want to put Upper Deck in bankruptcy or out of business, and people would lose their jobs, and not something the government or the state of California certainly would want to see there. So look forward to more coverage of that as if any documents come in, or if I hear any word. It's really just kind of reading the documents, and it does appear that we're getting close there, potentially on an Upper Deck settlement, which could totally change the business. Because if they get a favorable settlement, maybe the wife and the kids bow out. Maybe they put an investment in. Maybe they reach out to an investor. Maybe Fanatics buys it. Maybe Panini buys it. Maybe Topps buys it. Maybe they fold it up anyways. We don't know. And I think it'll be interesting. It's been a little bit of a cloud hanging over the business. And I think once you see the settlement come, you'll see some things start to shake loose at Upper Deck. Business idea of the week definitely was to embed Periscope streams of people who are streaming. Don't stream the fight yourself, the McGregor Mayweather fight yourself. Shouldn't do that, because you could get shut off your social channel or whatever. That would be bad. But you could have your own website where you embedded somebody else doing it and have ads rolling around it. I mean, that would have been thousands upon thousands upon thousands of page views of people looking at that, trying to get access to a free look at McGregor Mayweather. That would have been pretty easy money. The second easiest money that you can confirm this with the host of the Sports Card Show, my brother. Second easiest money was on betting on Mayweather. And last time I was in Vegas, I don't bet online, which you can do, certainly, pretty easily. But there's a little bit of a process probably to do that, and it's offshore and all this stuff. And I don't have the time or the. I'm not really a bettor. I'm not really a fantasy player. I'm not really interested in all that stuff. I gamble enough week to week on these sports tickets. That's more of a gamble to me, or more interesting certainly than trying to pick what these, athletes who may or may not have been at a strip club the night before are going to do the next day. But if I was in Vegas, the easiest money would have been on Mayweather, 40-year-old great fighter fighting even the best UFC fighter. That's barbecue chicken, guys. And that's he had no shot, the same way that if it was a UFC fight, Floyd would have no shot. McGregor would even be a bigger favorite in that case. I mean, that would be the easiest money of all time. If they did a rematch, a UFC rematch, and Floyd got in the octagon. I mean, Floyd would last 5 seconds. I mean, McGregor would dang near kill him. So Floyd would never do it because, he's literally risking his life. Whereas McGregor might have got out of there with a little scrape. They probably called it a little too early. I liked what he said. McGregor said afterwards, like, dude, I'm a UFC fighter. Really? He pitter-pattered me a couple times and you called the fight? Like, come on. Somebody should have went down. Or McGregor should have at least went down to lose. I mean, the guy's a UFC fighter. Come on. But I thought he showed himself well, but that was the easiest money of all time. And kudos to anybody out there who did, bet on Bovada or was in Vegas where you could bet on this. This was just the easiest money of all time. I mean, you could have just backed up the truck. There was no way they were going to let Floyd lose. There was more pressure probably on Floyd. If he lost, that tarnishes his entire career. Whereas McGregor kind of goes out, wow, he looked pretty good. Oh, and he got $100 million? Cool. Boy, what's his next fight? What's he gonna negotiate with Dana White on his next fight? Boy, I'd love to be his agent. Easiest money betting on Floyd. Second easiest money setting up a simple website, some stupid domain, and just embed people's Periscope streams and blast that you had the stream of the Mayweather McGregor fight. Run ads around it, and that would have been easy money. Easy money. Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending how well you promoted it or what kind of scheme you were going for there. Easy money. That's the end of the sports card content, so you can click off now if that's all you're interested in. A couple of things I saw that were interesting in the political realm. Trump holds a rally in Arizona, and as they were showing some of the camera shots, that's actually an area of downtown Phoenix there that I've been, it's real actually close to the Diamondbacks and the Sun Stadium down there. And I was like, oh man, I wish I was in Arizona. I wouldn't be down at the Trump rally. I'd be like at a swimming pool or a baseball game or somewhere in some air conditioning. But thought it was interesting, the kind of the yin and the yang in life. And I feel like second point I'm going to talk about, I live less than an hour, about an hour away from this place. So I figured I just want to clue some people into the culture actually out here in California, since I think that gets lost with some of the New York media, heavy New York media, even like Fox News is based in New York, right? Or something. So guy gets, so at the Trump rally, whatever, things pop off afterwards a little bit, really minor. And a guy, kind of an anti-Trump guy, kicks a kind of like a tear gas or something, smoke bomb that the police had thrown, kicks it back toward the police. Well, lo and behold, the police fire like a rubber bullet back at this guy to hit him right in the dick. And it's freaking hysterical. And then I think even as the video plays on, a guy in a Colin Kaepernick jersey comes and kind of picks the guy up and leads him to safety after he got pelted by this rubber bullet. So, of course, everybody on the right-leaning media, they find this hysterical and it's great and it's, it's just, kind of a funny thing. And it actually really is kind of just hysterical. This guy kicked a smoke bomb back at the police. Well, he's lucky he only took a rubber bullet to the dick. Thing that I found interesting is the same kind of right-leaning media. There was some protest or potential protest, kind of KKK rally over in Berkeley, which I live less than an hour from there. Very liberal place, very kind of, coffee and, smoke your weed and drink your coffee in the morning kind of place. Berkeley is. California is really in general. And, there was going to be some kind of KKK rally rolling through Berkeley. And, lo and behold, these people, I don't know what they call them, Antifa or somebody. I don't know what that stands for actually, but Antifa, this quote unquote Antifa group shows up in like black mask and like kind of really intimidating attire and are beating the crap out of some of these Trump supporters, KKK people. And this same right-leaning media who was kind of praising the police for shooting, this guy in the nuts in Arizona for kicking a smoke bomb back at him. Like, where's the cops? Oh, free speech, this and that. Let me just clue so that you guys don't, if you guys are out there talking about this stuff, so that you guys don't look stupid and stuff, let me clue you something into the California culture. If you're the KKK or white supremacist or somebody that's not well liked, and you come through Stockton, you come through Berkeley, Oakland, Fremont, Hayward, some of the kind of, you could go down south, Compton, some of the more black neighborhoods. If you roll through there, the cops aren't going to get fucking called. So this media that I'm saying, oh, where were the cops? Well, the cops don't want to get involved in that fucking shit. First of all, they're not going to get called. Second of all, they don't want to get involved in that shit. Arizona cops have a totally different mentality. If you kick a smoke bomb back at an Arizona cop, you're going to get hit with a rubber bullet. And you should know that walking in. I don't smoke a blunt down the street in Arizona. I would in California. You got to know these things going in. And so if you're in a KKK rally, which apparently got canceled, and for good reason, if you come to Berkeley, if you come to Oakland, if you come to Stockton, Sacramento, some of these towns that are known for having a little bit more of a rougher element, you're going to get your fucking ass beat. When I saw the rallies going on in Charlottesville, and I heard, they're going to have these rallies elsewhere, I was like, if those motherfuckers come to Stockton, I didn't think about, I would call the fucking cops. No. There are very strict gun laws out here. They can't show up with their huge militias. If those motherfuckers were walking down Pacific Avenue in their polo shirts and khaki shorts and tiki torches, those guys are getting their fucking ass beat. And the cops ain't gonna fucking show up. It's not how it works out here. In Arizona, yes. Greenville, South Carolina, place I spent some time in, yes. Burlington, Iowa, place I spent a week, yes. The cops are going to show up. Not out here. Not out here. If you're going to hold a KKK rally, the first instinct of the people here is not call the cops. It's let's go beat some fucking ass. Period. So the same way you can laugh about the guy getting hit with the rubber bullet in Arizona, it was fucking hysterical. And the guy in the Kaepernick jersey leading him away. I mean, it almost looked like it was staged. It was fucking hysterical. Some Clinton supporter kicks a smoke grenade back at the police and he gets pelted. And then a guy with a Kaepernick jersey, I'm surprised they didn't pelt him too. That would have just made the whole video. That's what happens in a conservative place like Arizona. In California, you show up to Berkeley, of all places. I mean, you could have picked some places in California where the cops would show up. There certainly are some places. Berkeley, Oakland, Stockton, Sacramento, Fresno, Fremont, Hayward, much of the Bay, unless you get to the rich places. The Bay's liberal. Bay's ghetto. There's some nasty places as you go toward the good places in San Francisco. There's some nasty, nasty places. And if they hear the KKK showing up, one, they know the cops aren't going to get involved. And two, they know that they can go get some free hits in. And that's look like what happened in Berkeley. So I laugh at both situations. The guy got pelted in Arizona, that's fucking hysterical. The KKK guys who show up in Oakland Berkeley and think they can just walk around? No, that doesn't fucking happen. In the great part of the U.S., you have 50 choices. Arizona, Nevada, California, Oregon, Washington. Lots of good choices out west. You go east, you have some smaller states. But each has their own vibe, each has their own rules, each has their own regulations. And I think people should just respect that a little more. And just thought I'd throw you in on the culture a little bit out here in California. It may seem a little weird, but that is the culture. If the KKK rally comes in, the first thought in my mind isn't, I hope the cops show up and control this. It's, it might be a good day to go get some free hits in. Just a thought. And if Trump's holding I'm smart enough to know that if Trump's holding a rally in Phoenix, you better not aggravate the police or anybody around there, because you might be on the other end of a rubber bullet to the dick. So hysterical. Encourage you guys to check out the footage of both. I find it both hysterical, actually. And don't find anything wrong, actually, with either. Because I've spent a lot of time in both states, and that's the mentality, at least of the area of California that this happened in, and certainly most, if not all of Arizona, is, if you kick a smoke grenade at a cop, good luck. The best thing that can happen to you is you take a rubber bullet to the fucking dick. So hope you're rubbing some cards on your dick. Good luck when you open your packs, your boxes, or your bids on eBay, or buys on Check Out My Cards. Good luck. See you later. Maybe next week after this football preseason ends.